tell us who you are so that we move together. We will give. We may want to know, and we shall also introduce ourselves to you before we make this statement. Ladies and gentlemen, this introduction is page 24. Is how much? Oh, okay, thank you. Here we have Bishop Simon Nyango of Southern Nyanza Diocese. We want to tell you that we are ACK Nyanza Region Bishops, Anglican Church of Kenya, Nyanza Region Bishops. And we want to say we are very, very sad as we stand here, and we pray and have sympathy with our people who have been brutally shot, and even some died. And therefore, we would like to bring our statement to you. Call for sobriety and civil order. We, the 5 Anglican bishops representing Nyanza Episcopal Sees, have gathered here at Jaramogi Odinga Teaching and Referral Hospital to pray with the family and the victims of the recent police brutality. We are gathered here not to celebrate a winning match in a political field, but to share our sorrow with the victims of excessive force by our security personnel in an attempt to suppress demonstrations. We are here to pray for all Kenyans of goodwill to gather courage and speak the truth to the ruling power that the era of regressive approach to civil dissent is not the bullet or explosion of anger, but the willing heart to listen to the voice of the agitated people. The letter of James chapter 1 verses 19 through to 24 says, be ready to listen and quick to listen than being loud to speak without engaging your mind and without reasoning. We need to listen to that.
We are asking the government to free Kenya to civility. Dear Kenyans, our country is in a state of war between the government and its supporters on one side, and the opposition and those who see things differently on the other side. It is crystal clear that the rule of law has been suspended and state of anarchy allowed to reign without respite. It is becoming clear that the Luo community is singled out specifically for brutal attack, and this must not be allowed in a country that is priding itself as the most stable in East and Central Africa. Luo community has not committed a crime against the government to deserve such a kind of rage. Over the years, it has been proven that the community has worked well with all the previous regimes, and any form of selective profiling has been adversely minimized. The evidence of excessive force the police in this region has applied during the previous demonstrations is brutal, evil, uncivilized, and an affront of civilization. Following the recent remarks by leaders that have left Kenyans more divided than united, we, the Anglican bishops from Nyanza region, wish to state as follows.
One, on government responsibility to create peace. The government has the full responsibility to create a peaceful atmosphere for conversation on the Kenya that we want. Police cannot be used to restore true and lasting peace in a country that is divided in the middle. We are urging His Excellency the President, Dr. William Ruto, to behave like the father of this nation and call everyone to order through national dialogue. When adversaries share a table, they reduce their hostility and would be able to create space for understanding of one another. Mr. President, we as bishops from this region, we are ready to engage you in an open Christian conversation as a way of finding a lasting solution to the tension prevailing in our country and especially in this region. Kenya would be incomplete without our interest as a community becoming your interest. So we pray that we stop bitterness and anger and threats and treat us with dignity. The first president of Kenya, Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, had a disagreement with Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, and that history we know, even in this place where we stand. But he did not hate the Luos because of Jaramogi. You seem to hate Luos so much that when they are killed or pulled out from the houses, like we've been told by the victims up here who have been shot, even though some never demonstrated. One was from bathroom, one was inside the house, one was going to a shop. You seem to rejoice and your people gives thumbs up. We have no any other president but you. So where do you expect us to run to when your face shows us all the anger and threats? May God open your heart to live to your Christian calling as the father of the nation of Kenya. It is a pity that you are surrounded by leaders who are on a vengeance mission and would release reckless statements without supportive intelligence, and they just got scot-free and people believe them. This is not healthy for our call for unity. Take the initiative, sir, and be a statesman above reproach. Call the leadership of the opposition to a round-table conversation. Though we know that one person has said that speaking with the opposition is committing a crime. That is not the attitude that we wish to see in our country. Your Excellency, as bishops of this church, who had been silent for a while, this is the best advice that we can give after prayerful thought. If Kenya is not at peace, even yourself or your people will not be at peace. Peace is not protected by guns, but by moral rightness in listening to the crying, the dying, the starving, the aggrieved, and respond accordingly.
To the opposition leaders on demonstration, we say this: whereas we castigate the use of force in suppression of the demonstrations, we are calling the opposition leaders to recognize the legitimacy and legality of Kenya Kwanza government. Your failure to recognize the legitimacy and legality of this government, in our view, has aggravated unnecessary hostility. Mutual understanding is attained when each party recognizes the other and gives due respect. We are rightly of the view that respect must also be earned by good behavior on both sides. Whereas demonstrations have their objective and are provided for in our Constitution, it has not been easy to control the appetite of some of the demonstrators for criminal behavior. When will we mature enough to appreciate that demonstrations should not and must not involve blocking every road for motorists. It has become a culture in this nation that while the government is the target of many demonstrations, the innocent motorists always fall victims. What wrong do motorists do for their vehicles to be smashed during demonstrations? Blocking of roads and smashing of civilian vehicles are equally evil and cannot be tolerated. Time has come for both the government and the opposition to appreciate the reality and civility of demonstrations.
On the way the Kenyatta family has been handled by the state, we strongly believe that responsible leadership must exercise tolerance beneath and above the surface of logic. We want the president to give the Kenyatta family the latitude they deserve as the former first family in this country. A phone call to the former president would save this nation of such an embarrassment that we have witnessed for the last few days. If we want to run this country on the basis of suspicion, fear, and vendetta, then no one will remain in this country. Fueling tension through reckless utterances cannot save this nation from its economic woes. A national conversation is critical as a panacea for peaceful transition. In conclusion, Kenya belongs to all of us, irrespective of our names and locations of birth. We must appreciate the goodwill of our culture that embraces tolerance, forgiveness, and responsible behavior. No one should feel like an alien in this nation because of his ethnic background. Police are not born of aliens either. They are our own biological brothers, sisters, friends, and you may name it. They require our prayers and counseling. Police bosses, don't issue orders to your juniors to kill the innocent. The curse they will shoulder for shedding innocent blood will also catch up with you. You must show human faith when dealing with civil unrest. May God save Kenya and grant us the favor of listening to one another. Thank you and God bless. That marks the end of our press statement to the nation.
But we've seen, Bishop, you guys have expressed a lot of interest and humility towards this cause. Are there efforts that you guys are also making to reconcile the two people, the president and the opposition, so that they can come together to a reasoning table?
I think as a church, we have our umbrella body. We have National Council of Churches of Kenya. We have our Anglican head office, provincial, and we have interreligious groups. All these groups at national level, they have tried to reach out to them. And we are still waiting for their responses, including Catholics.
So no response as yet?
We are yet to receive. What we are saying, in other words, is this. Court had made a pronouncement which was very clear about the finance bill. It stands suspended, and as far as we are concerned, as those who understand what law says, it is suspended. It's still no more. He has to gather courage and implement the ruling of the court. He is the beneficiary of a court ruling. Let the Kenyan people also be a beneficiary of court ruling. When the ruling is in favor of the public, the president has no choice. This Kenya does not belong to him. It belongs to all of us. So when court, in its own wisdom, notice that there's a problem with the finance bill, it must be respected. That's what I can say. And as someone who wants to lead us to the path of civility, to the path of being obedient to the law, he must be at the forefront in obeying the ruling of the court. That's what I can say.
Very good. Thank you very much, Bishop.
Thank you.